Hello and welcome back. Today I'll be discussing about the books that I've read for the month of October, which I sort of joined in on the Books and Tea readathon. So that meant that I mostly focused on spooky reads for the month of October. So I initially planned to read 6 books for October, but I was only able to read 5 out of that 6. So it's actually a good thing, I think. But of the 6 books that I intended to read, all 5 of those were the really short ones. And the 6th one was the longest one, which I was supposed to read last, but since I wasn't really in that much of a mood to read last month, so yeah, I never got to read that one. So anyway, the first 3 books that I've read was actually comics, and it's the first 3 issues of Trese. So the thing, so with comics, I have not read comics in a very long time, so reading Trese was a little weird because I came from a series of fantasy books. So usually fantasy reads, you go into a lot of details, a lot of explaining. Sometimes it gets a little info dumpy, and I got used to that. And I'm not sure if this is how comics are now, but when I read the first issue of Trese, it was weird because it just went ahead with the plot, and I didn't really get any. There wasn't. I don't know. Maybe I missed it. I don't know, but there wasn't any introduction to the characters, and you know, it just went ahead, and that got me a little lost. And that's why I rated the first issue only 3 stars, because I couldn't really care. And the plot was okay, but the art though was really good. I loved the art, and I just discovered while I was reading it after the first issue at the back part, it was when I learned that the Tagalog edition, the one that I have, the copies that I have written in Tagalog, is actually a translation, and the original was written in English. So yeah, I was surprised. I didn't know that. And I actually still want the one with the black and white covers. I like that one better still, and I might get a copy of those if they become available. So anyway, yeah, the first issue, I was lacking in the description part. I don't know, I'm just going to assume that maybe it's because I'm not used to reading comics anymore. That's why that's how I received the first issue. I don't know. But yeah, there's that. And then I read the second issue. I actually read the first, second, and third issues one after the other because they're really short, and I'm not used to reading short books anymore. I mean, it's comics, so anyway, yeah. So the second issue of Trese was, I'm biased because it was about a tikbalang. The first one was about a white lady, I think. Yeah, it was about a white lady, and I don't know, white ladies don't really scare me anymore. They just too normal, or I don't know, I don't really care much about them. But the second issue covers a tikbalang, and I really like the concept of it. And though I couldn't really care much about Trese because, again, there wasn't much introduction about her. I didn't really get attached to her, but I really liked the plot. And again, I'm biased to tikbalangs because they're one of my favorite. So yeah, I really enjoyed that one. The concept and the art, again, was on point. I really liked the art. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I went from I think I gave it 4 stars. The first issue, I gave it 3 stars. The second one, I gave it 4, I think. Yeah, 4 or 5 stars, I forget. But yeah, I really enjoyed that one, despite not caring much about the main character, because yeah, there wasn't much about the main character just yet. Although there were glimpses of Trese's past, but yeah, I don't know. I still, I was craving for a little more something to relate to Trese, but the art, yeah, was really good. But the plot was more than enough for me to enjoy the comic. And then the third issue, I love the concept, I love the art, and it's about a San Telmo. I really love San Telmos. They're also one of my favorites. Just what I really enjoyed about the third issue is the concept that not all of the monsters were against the hero, or they're not all antagonists. And I enjoyed the concept of it, and I like how it's kind of gray area, I think, with how the main character and the San Telmos work together. So yeah, that was a really fun read, enjoyable read, and it's definitely a few mature scenes, but nothing too revealing. I don't think so. Overall, the first 3 issues of Trese just got better and better throughout the series, and I'm excited to read the 4th, 5th, 6th. I think there's been 7 issues now. I forget, but yeah, I'm excited to read the next of the series, so hopefully I can get a copy of those. The next that I've read is Ang Mga Kaibigan ni Mama Susan by Bob Ong. I decided to read this book next because Trese was actually translated by Bob Ong from English to Tagalog. So I thought maybe the next book I should read should be a Bob Ong book, because people who recommended this book to me told me that I might enjoy it because it's a journal type of format and it gets creepy. True, in fact, it does get creepy, and it is written in journal type, but I gave this 3 stars because the first half of the book, I couldn't really care much about it. I mean, it just it felt like some guy, he just felt whiny to me, he just kept whining on and on. I mean, when you're reading the book, every single chapter is a journal entry, so you get a lot of insights from the main character or the narrator. And I think for that kind of style, I think it was overdone. That's why I didn't really enjoy it. I mean, every chapter a journal entry, and the thing is, I could not care, or it didn't really use the strengths as a journal entry. I mean, there were dates that I could not care about, and I don't think it mattered at all to the story. And then there was nothing in between the journal entries. For the most part, like 3/4 of the book, there was hardly any conversation. All you get is the ramblings of, I guess he's a teen. I think the narrator is a teen, a male teen, and I don't think there's much going on in his head too. He's not even an interesting, his brain isn't interesting enough for me to care about what he's writing. That's what I mean, and I'm sorry, but that's how I see him. So really, my problem here is that the author could have written this in not a journalistic style, and I would have enjoyed it more. I think that's it. Because straight pages, almost 100 pages plus, or almost 100 pages of no conversations. It's just listening to this guy writing his thoughts on a journal, and his thoughts aren't even deep. Yeah, something like that. And then it does get interesting though throughout the later half, but by then I just got there because I just wanted to see if there was more to it, because I see people enjoying it. And so I thought maybe there is something, maybe there's a payoff by the end of this book, and it does get interesting, it does. But ultimately I was just disappointed that this style of writing where it's a journal or a letter, that usually pulls me in. I love reading those kinds of books because it's like seeing into something personal, something you're not supposed to be reading, but here you are reading it. That's why I like those things. But there's the main character there wasn't any depth to him. And yeah, the creepy stuff happens later on, and if the author only broke away from that writing a bit, like putting an outside of the journal experience, let's say a journal writing in this part, and then showing us what happens outside of the journal, even just for a few minutes, I don't know, that would have helped the story move along, because you really will not find anything, you will not read anything about what's not written on the journal. You only know what's on the journal, and then it's not even consistent. Like, really, I could not care. I don't care what date it was written. I did not care why it was being written. There were a lot of journal entries that didn't mean anything ultimately, and yeah, I don't know, it just wasn't working for me. But I gave it 3 stars because the plot is there, it's there, it just was not clicking and working for me. The writing is not bad, it's just that it felt lacking for me, that's it. So yeah, if you like Babong though, I've seen reviews saying that it's completely different from his usual. If this will be your first Babong, or is your first Babong, then maybe try another of his works if you didn't like this. But if you enjoyed this, then I think you'll enjoy his other works too. So my last book for the month of October was Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. I give it 3 stars because it does get creepy, but it's also very poetic kind of writing. I actually like the writing. It was fun to read. The way the flow of the prose, it was different from what I usually read. And the thing is, sometimes it gets too poetic, that it gets lost in itself. All the creepy build-up just disappears, like there was one chapter where there were strings of sentences that was a really beautiful prose. I enjoyed reading it. It was initially trying to build up the creep factor, and I did feel it. It's like goosebumps were slowly forming, and before my goosebumps could actually go full-blown chilling me to the bones and all that, it just went poof because all the poetic sentences just kept going and going, and then okay, am I supposed to be scared now or what? That was how I felt while I was reading it. There were scenes that really should have been creepy if not for the too much poetry, if that makes any sense at all. So that's how I felt about it. And I think one reason why I could not fully enjoy it is some of the writing, the slang, was just too English for me. I could not really relate to the words that were used or care. And well, to be fair, this is an old work, but yeah, I mean, there were things that I could just not relate to, and that's why I'm giving this a 3 stars. I could have given it 4 if I understood those. And yeah, overall though, if you would get the references that I was not able to get, I think you will enjoy this book more than I did. But yeah, and the book, I don't have it with me anymore right now, but it looked really thick physically. If you look through the pages, it's 300 plus pages. But the main story itself is just 200 plus pages. The 100 plus or almost 100 pages remaining from the book, the edition that I have, is more of the history and commentary on the work itself. It was also a fun read to find out that the book was actually slated for a movie, but it took a long time until it actually got made into a movie. So I just found out that it has a movie after reading the book. So yeah, I'm not sure if I want to watch it though. I watched the trailer and it was really old Disney. The time when Disney actually didn't care if it would scare children or anything. Yeah, I miss that kind of Disney. The movie itself, based on the trailer, it was just too old, and I'm not a movie person, so I'm not really encouraged to watch it. But it looks fine, I guess. And also, this book, it's written somewhere, I think, it's a second book of a series, apparently. But I went through quickly through Goodreads and on Google. It's part of a series, but you're not required to read book 1 to enjoy this book. I mean, I would know. I only read book 2 and didn't even know it was a series. But yeah, when it says it's a series, it means that it's part of the same world. So it's book 2, and there's 4 books that are set in the same world as Something Wicked, and it doesn't seem like they're all connected. I mean, from the quick look that I went through, from my quick view, they're all standalones, but they're set in the same world, and they're not really truly connected. So you don't need to read one before reading the other. So yeah, there's that. So yeah, those are the 5. Those are the 5 books that I was able to read for October. So how about you? What were the books you were able to read the best for the month, and what was the worst for the month? And if you haven't read any for October, or if you're feeling like you're in a slump, there are a lot of great read-alongs and book discussions going on for this November that you might want to join in, and I'll link those in the description box so you can join in and find someone to talk about the books. It does help, having someone to talk about the books that you're reading helps when you're in a slump. So yeah, see you in the next video.